This one process seems like the foundation for so many aspects of woodworking that are unrelated to joinery. Best of all, seems pretty easy. All these are different variations of the same thing, a rabbet joint, or as my friends across the pond would say, a rebate. But this is much more than just a woodworking joint. It opens you up to a whole bunch of different design opportunities that have nothing to do with joinery, and I'm gonna prove it to you. First though, let me show you the quickest, easiest way to make a rabbet joint. Let's say you got two boards that you want to fit together. All right, well, we don't even need to measure. I could just put one board right up against the other there, make sure it's flush on the edge, and then mark it. I prefer to place a mark on the edge also. We're gonna cut a notch out of one board so the other board sits into it. Well, how deep of a notch do we cut? Easy. Rule of thumb is go for about half the thickness. I like to go a little bit more than that. I'll do 2/3, maybe even a quarter. But you don't have to be precise, just eyeball it. I like to shade in any of the area I'm gonna cut so I know exactly where to cut and where not to cut. Maybe that's just a me thing. I know my limitations, and I can't say that it's happened before. I could just say it's possible I'll cut the wrong spot. I'm gonna raise my blade up to just under that line. Doesn't need to be perfect. What I'm gonna do is take a practice cut first, and then I can adjust my blade to the exact height later on. I could use some scrap wood for that test cut, but I typically just cut the end of it, and then take a look and adjust the blade accordingly. Once it's good, I'm gonna make multiple cuts, slowly nibbling away at that material until I get close to my scribe line. At that point, I'm gonna do a test fit. I'm gonna take the one board, stick it into the other board, and see how does it fit, and I'll check and make sure it's flush on the edge. If there's a little bit of material that needs to be removed, I'll just slightly move my stop block over a hair and then try it again. Two points to emphasize. One is I'm using a ripping blade with a flat tooth. That way I get a smooth cut for my rabbet. You could also use a dado stack for this. But the second point is really important. That is, you don't have to do all the setup anymore. Now that it's all done, you can simply cut the other end of the board, cut all your other boards without having to do all this adjustment stuff. As the cool kids say, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm pretty confident Encyclopedia Britannica actually says that. Growing up, did you ever have that door-to-door salesman that sold encyclopedias? Or was it just my area? We actually bought some of them. You're going to hear some of the questions now. Isn't that joint really weak? Well, I mean, compared to like dovetails, sure. I guess you have to ask yourself is, do you have to have a stronger joint than that depending on the project you're making? Like a small decorative box over on a table. How strong does that joint need to be? But also remember, this is a foundational thing that we're doing here. You could change this up. You could cut an extra notch out of it and then have some sort of reinforced rabbet. That gives you a lot more glue surface, a lot stronger joint. Also, after you glue the whole thing up, you could drill a hole and put a dowel in there and that thing's gonna be rock strong. Rock strong? I don't know. Why does rock, I don't think rock strong is the right term. Strong as a rock? Like a rock? No, that's a Chevy commercial. It's gonna be very strong. I told you this skill is much more than just joinery. Instead of cutting those rabbets on the ends, cut it along the top edge of your board. If you do that on all four sides, you glue the whole thing together, now you've got this perfect ledge that box lid can sit on top of. And really, you don't even have to change your setup. Keep the blade at the same height, and instead of cutting on the end, cut on the edge. It's a rabbet joint either way. You do the same thing for a box bottom. Instead of putting the board up against the bottom edge, move it up about maybe 1/8 of an inch. Then scribe your line. Don't even change your saw setup. Just cut away at your board until you get to that line and test fit it and see how it does. If it's a little tight, nudge your fence over, make another pass. You can easily see how learning this one technique can essentially allow you to build an entire project. Thank you to the Subaru community over on Patreon for supporting me and allowing me to make videos like this. Until we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome with rebates. Rebates and rabbets. Rabbits and rebates. I feel like there's a country song in there somewhere. Maybe blues? Something about losing my rebate. in an auction to my cousin who shot my dog. Yeah.